Hello everyone, how are you today? Hopefully you are great. Today's session is about past simple tense. Before we start talking about the tense itself, I want you to have a look at these sentences, okay? The first 4 sentences. I visited my friend yesterday. They watched a new movie at the cinema. He worked from 9 to 6 on Friday. We played tennis last week. So I want you to have a look at these examples and try to guess what is something similar between these sentences. What is something that you think that it's repeated or it's common between these sentences? Okay, so you can have a look at the verb to make it easier for you. Yeah, so we have here visited, watched, worked, and played. Very good. Number 1, it's a main verb. Main verb. We don't have a helping here. So it's main verb and it's what? Ending in ed. Very good. So this is the common between these sentences. When in English, you can use main verb and this verb ends in ed. Past simple tense. Yes, this is the answer. So again, past simple tense, we use what? We use main verb, and this verb ends in ed. Very good. This is number 1, or this is rule number 1. I want you now to look at sentence number 5 and number 6. She went to the school late. The children bought new shirts from the mall. What you see is similar. Again, it's main verb, but the verb is different than the verb that we know. So in English as well, if you are going to use main verb, and this verb has a different form than the infinitive. The infinitive is go, for example, but here it's not go, it's went. It's different than the infinitive. In this case, this is past simple as well. So again, in English, for the past simple tense, we have 2 forms of the verb: regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular and irregular. What is meant by regular or irregular? Regular verbs end in ed. In regular verbs end in ed. For example, visit, visited. You added what to the verb? You just added ed. Work, worked. You just added ed. Okay? Sometimes, by the way, if I have e at the end of the verb, like for example, if I say invite, okay? So we don't add ed, already I have e, so I just add d, invited. So it's okay as well, so it's d or ed. Both of them are correct, okay? So this is the main rule that we have. So this is rule number 1. Like the first 4 sentences, the verb end in ed. This is called what? This is called regular verbs. Number 2, I have irregular verbs. What is meant by irregular verbs? Irregular verbs mean different types of forms of the verb. Different types of verbs or different types of forms of the verb as well. So as we said, irregular verbs mean what? Mean different forms of the verb. How can I know them? They are a lot, okay? They are like this, okay? And in order to make it easier, we are going to take some rules to make it easier for you to remember or memorize, okay? Okay, very good. Like what? The first time of the irregular. Verbs that change completely. What does mean change completely? They don't look the same like the infinitive. For example, go is the infinitive part or the infinitive verb. What's the past went? So it's different. It's not related. So we have to understand, we have to memorize them. لازم نذاكرهم ونحفظهم كويس. Sell, sold, for example. So it's a different. This is the first one. Number two, cut, cut, put, put. So some verbs don't change. They remain the same. They remain the same. They don't change. Okay? Okay. Send, sorry. Send, sent. Build, built. So they end in what? In T instead of the AD. Okay? Play, played. Cry, cried. So do you remember the Y rule that we have taken in the present simple before? It's the same rule here. If there is a vowel before the Y, we keep the Y and we add the ED, the regular one. If there is a consonant before the Y, so we remove the Y, remove it, okay? And replace it with IED. It's the same like the present simple rule, but here IED instead of IES. Another rule is that if you have a CVC word, consonant, vowel, consonant, or a word that end in CVC, shop, sha, consonant, the O is a vowel, and then the P is a consonant. What do we do in this case? Double the final consonant. So we add ED, but before the ED we double the final consonant, which is the BP in this case. Jogged, the same, jogged. So we double the G in this case. So these are the different forms of the irregular. You can memorize them from this schedule. So for example, what's the past of verb be, was or were? What's the past of verb become? It's became, begin, began, forget, forgot. For example, drive, drove, drink, drank. Let's see, put, put, meet, met, lose, lost. For example, sleep, slept, and so on. So you have to memorize them, guys. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna send it to you. They are a lot. I'm gonna send to you on WhatsApp the irregular verbs. Okay, you can study them, and I am going to ask in the first, let's say 15. First 15 is going to be enough. So the first 15 words, I'm gonna ask about them next time. Good. Very good. Let's go back again. So again, if we have a main verb and this verb end in ed, or this verb is one of the irregulars, okay, this means this is which tense? Past simple tense. Very good now? Very good. What does it mean past simple? When can I use it? It's really important to know when to use the tense. When can I use it? To talk about what? If you remember, we said that for the present simple, when can I use it? إمتى كنت بستخدم present simple? Do you remember? Habits or routine, facts, whether it's scientific fact or personal fact. Very good. Present continuous or present progressive, when can I use it? Something that is happening at the time of speaking or started but not finished, okay? Or temporary situations, okay? These are the main uses for the tense. What about the past simple? إمتى بقى استخدم ال past simple? It's very easy and very simple. Number one, to tell a story. Why? Because most of the stories happened and finished. This is number one. Number two, talk about anything that happened in the past and finished completely. This is really, really important. Something that started and finished. Anything that started and finished or happened in the past, you can use this tense. So for example, I visited my friend yesterday. So yesterday, it means it happened and finished. They watched a new movie at the cinema. They already watched the movie. They started and finished. He worked from 9 to 6 on Friday. He started and finished. We played tennis last week. Started and finished. We went to the school late. Started and finished. The children bought new shirts from the mall. They went to the mall and bought and they went home back. So they started and finished. So anything in English that happened to you in the past or started and finished, you use this tense. It's very easy and very simple. How can you make it? Again, one more time, you can use the regular ed or one of the irregulars, as we said, just like this and like this. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, I wrote you here a sentence. He cut the bread. He cut the bread. We said that there are some verbs in the irregular that don't change. Cut, cut, put. They keep the same. Okay? So I want you to have a look at this sentence. Cut is one of the verbs that don't change in the present like in the past. So I want you to have a look at this sentence. He cut the bread. This sentence is in the present simple or the past simple, and why? So this is your homework. I want you to think and tell me next time this is present simple or this is past simple and why. Okay? Very good. Let's move on. Again, past simple means what? Means something happened in the past, started and finished. How can I write the sentence in the past simple? Using regular verbs, ed, or irregular verbs. Very good. Now let's go to the negative. The negative is very easy and very simple. We use what? We use didn't plus the verb infinitive. Of course, we said this before. If I have did as helping, of course the verb is infinitive. We don't have to think about it. It's very easy. The same, the questions. Do you remember? I said this before at the beginning when we said that if you have a sentence that has main verb and ending in ed, which one is the helping that we take? بنستعين بمين? Did. So did, and then subject, and then the main verb in the infinitive. WH word, the same. WH question, WH word, did, subject, and main verb. Let's try to do this. It's like a revision. The revision على الكلام اللي احنا قلناه زمان. It's not new. مش أي حاجة فيها new. She cleaned the house an hour ago. So if I have a verb, main verb, or main verb ending in ed, this is past simple. How can I negate it, or how can I make the negative? Didn't plus the main verb. So didn't clean. This is the answer. Didn't clean, and then the rest of the sentence in the house an hour ago. Now I want to make yes or no question. I have here main verb, so I go and get what? Did. Why? Because the verb end in ed. So did, and then the subject, she, and then the main verb infinitive because I have did. Did she clean the house an hour ago? Yes, she did, or no, she didn't. And as we said before, no, she didn't. لو انت عايز to add بقى، لو انت عايز تصحح وتقول هي كانت بتعمل ايه, you can say, for example, she watched TV. No, she didn't. She watched TV. For example, she didn't clean the house. Now I want to make a yes or no question. WH question. So an hour ago. So it's timing. I'm gonna use one, and then the helping, did, and then the subject, she, and then clean the main verb. When did she clean the house? If I want to ask about the house, it's something. So I'm gonna ask using what? Sorry. I'm gonna use what, and then the helping, did, and then the subject, she, and then clean as a main verb, infinitive, an hour ago. Very easy and very simple. Past simple is one of the easiest tenses that you can speak. You can use a lot while you are speaking, and at the same time while you are writing. Okay, let's see another example. They went to the club with their friends last Saturday. So I have a main verb and it's irregular. So in the negative, it's going to be didn't plus the main verb. Main verb, it means the main verb of the verb. So go, didn't go to the club with their friends last Saturday. If I want to make a yes or no question, I'm gonna get the helping. Did they go to the club with their friends last Saturday? Yeah, they did. No, they didn't. If you want to say something else, you can say they went to the cinema, for example, not to the club. If I want to ask about the club, for example, so where, and then did, and then they, the subject, and then go, the main verb, with their friends last Saturday. Okay, making questions and negative is easy because we have taken this a lot. We have taken this a lot of time before. Okay. Now, for homework, I want you to do what? I want you to read these sentences, and try to make the negative, the yes or no question, and the WH question as well for the underlined words. Okay, so I visited my friend yesterday. Okay, let's say this is what we want the question for. Okay, so the negative, what's the negative? The yes or no question, the WH question for all this sentence, for number 2 to number 6, from 2 to 6. Okay. Now, again and again and again, don't forget and never forget, there is no keyword. No keyword. We don't use keywords in English, but we can use words that help in the sentence, that add to the meaning of the sentence. Like what? Last. So I can say, for example, last week, last month, last year, last season, last summer. So you can use last plus any word that you want. Yesterday. So what's today? What's today? Today is what? Monday. So what was yesterday? Sunday. Okay? The day before yesterday. What is meant by the day before yesterday? Again, what's today? Monday. What's yesterday? Sunday. What's the day before yesterday? Saturday. Okay? Once upon a time, mostly we use it for stories, for telling something. In the past, without saying one, ago. Just remember something. When you use ago, we use before it a period of time. So for example, I didn't write you an example, but I can write you one here. So I can say, for example, he visited Paris or France 2 years ago, for example. So do you see the example? So you mentioned the period of time first and then ago. Okay, this is how we use ago in sentences. Okay, another example, I wrote you another example. Once upon a time, there was a king who ruled a great country, for example. So once upon a time in a sentence. So we use it to add to the meaning, okay? Not because it's a keyword, okay? Okay, let's move to something else. Pronunciation of the ed. I want you to have a look at these words and try to pronounce them. Visited, uploaded, cleaned, loved, worked, laughed, watched. Do you pronounce the ed the same? Okay, so do you pronounce the ed here in the word visit like the word love? Sorry, like the word work, the ed is pronounced the same. هل ال ed بتتنطق the same في verbs دي, all the verbs? No, it's not. Why? We have a rule. Do you remember the rule? احنا أخذنا الرول دي before مع ال es في present simple. فاكرين we were reading it like what, or pronouncing like what. كنا بنعمل pronunciation ازاي؟ الاس دي كنا بننطقها ايه؟ يا اما اس يا اما زي يا اما اي زي. It's the same here. We pronounce the ed. احنا بننطق ال ed as t or as d or as ed or id. When امتى بقى؟ ايه الرول بتاعتنا؟ If we have the verb ending in t او d, لو الverb بينتهي بالt والd, we pronounce. خلي بالك احنا بنتكلم على pronunciation مش السبيلنج. السبيلنج كله ed, لكن البرونانسيشن بتاع ال ed هنا هيبقى ايه؟ wanted id, needed id. يبقى انا بسمع ال ed هنا كانها id id. اوكي؟ طيب امتى هسمعها t؟ مع ال p وال k وال f. الاف برضو بس لو كتبت جي اتش، مع الش، مع التش، مع الاس ساوند. الاس بقى سواء كان مكتوب دبل اس او مكتوب سي او مكتوب اكس، هما كلهم النطق بتاعهم الاس طبعا. طيب تعالوا نجرب كده. help p she helped him. لو بتسمعها من native speaker هتسمعها she helped him. helped t helped him. مش هسمعها هي helped. مفيش حاجه اسمها كده. the wrong pronunciation. he looked at her. مش looked خالص. they looked tired. looked worked. Okay, for example. So sniffed or laughed. Sorry. GH هنا طبعا احنا اخذنا هنا pronunciation F. she laughed at him. laughed مش laughed. لا مش هتبقى correct، هتبقى تتنطق T. لو عندي ش أو تش. she washed the dishes. watched TV. kissed him. danced. fixed fixed. اوكي يبقى بسمعها ايه؟ بسمعها تي، مش هسمعها ري في الاندنج. اوكي يبقى مع البي والكي والاف والش والتش والاس، باختلاف الكتابه طبعا الريتم بتاعها. طيب امتى بقى هسمعها دي؟ درست الباقي بقى. يبقى لو عندي تي او دي هتبقى اد. do these letters or these sounds sorry لو تي، الباقي هيبقى دي، يعني ال والان والار والجي والفي والزي والبي والام والفاولز، كل الفاولز هتبقى دي as well. تعالوا نجرب كده. she called him، كأن بقى مفيش اي اصلا في النص خالص، called على طول. cleaned مش cleaned، مش حاجه اسمها كده. she cleaned كأني مفيش اي خالص. offered damaged ج، فاكرين الج sound؟ ج damaged. loved مش loved. اوكي loved كأني مفيش اي خالص، احنا بنسمعها دي بس. used ز. amazed rubbed claimed. okay for homework you are going to read these verbs and you are gonna tell me هتقولوا لي بقى what's the pronunciation of the AD here, is it T or D or ed. okay verb to be in the past simple. Let's move to something else. If you noticed this here, let's go back to this. Yes. Okay. Again, so do you see verb to be? What's the past of verb to be? Was or were? Do you remember what's verb to be, guys? Sure you remember. Am or is or are. Okay. What's the past of am and is and are? If I have I or he or she or it, okay, the past is going to be was. If we have we or you or they, the plural, I'm gonna use were. Okay, very simple and very easy. Was or were. Were for the plural, and the rest is going to take was. If it's negative, it's going to be what? I, he, she, it was not, and we contracted into wasn't. We or you or they were not, but we contracted into weren't. Good, very good, and very easy. Of course, if I have a yes or no question, or if I have a question, we start with what? Was or were, and then the subject. And do you remember was or were verb to be ما بيستعينش بالحد من بره، هو بيستخدم نفسه في الquestions. Okay, do you remember this rule?